Good morning, happy Friday, or it might be night where you're at. But yeah, today we're going to be going over Hyper-V and virtualization. I made a video not too long back going over Linux and QEMU, which has been great. And a lot of people like that video. But a lot of people just don't want to use Linux for whatever reason. Or maybe not their host operating system. They want to use Windows because they have to use it for gaming or their work or whatever it might be. So out of that, I got a lot of people defending VirtualBox, which I get. VirtualBox is really easy to use, but it's terrible in performance. It just is. If you compare it to any other hypervisor, it's just not very good. And that's why I always crap on it, because, well, it's easy pickings. And pretty much anything out there works good. It's just some people don't know how to use the other stuff. So that's why Hyper-V comes into the picture in this one, because it comes with any Windows 10 Pro and above, which is pretty much what I use exclusively is Windows 10 Pro. So I will get to my desktop here and go over it. See a bunch of familiar faces in the audience here. And yeah, let's see what we got. I will be installing Linux. Hyper-V itself really likes to virtualize Windows. And they make it easy for Windows. But everything else, it's a little bit clunky. But before we get started, I just want to explain one thing with Hyper-V. Hyper-V is a Type 1 hypervisor. There's not very many Type 1 hypervisors, mind you. There's like VMware and then like Zen Server and maybe a few others, and that's about it. And Type 1 hypervisors, what that is it runs on the bare metal, meaning there is no operating system underneath it that it has to go through to interface with your virtual machine. So Type 1 hypervisors are the best. And they're always going to be way more performant than any other hypervisor that you can get. So that's why you'd use Hyper-V. Now, there's reasons why you wouldn't use it. One, it's clunky. It's not the best. I would prefer, like if it was in a business, typically I'd be using VMware. Some businesses do use Hyper-V, but very few. VMware is usually where it's at. And why I don't show a video on VMware is because it's expensive. VMware Workspace, I think it's Workspace. They changed their terminology and their the naming scheme on VMware a lot. But VMware is, I think, starting out about $300 for just home use for the most part. And obviously when you get into enterprise and stuff, it gets a lot more expensive. I want to say I was paying, I want to say $20,000 or $30,000 for licensing for VMware, for like just a standard 1U rack with a bunch of hosts. But I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. It's expensive, but that's why we're doing Hyper-V today, because everyone can do it. It's very good and it's very fast. And I just want to explain those two things starting out here before I get people defending VirtualBox in chat. VirtualBox just can't touch a Type 1, and that's what we're going to be showing. Also, before we start, with any virtualization that you're going to be doing, enable it in your BIOS. I can't show that because, well, it's your BIOS, but every BIOS is a little bit different. Just know I think it's SBM for AMD and VTD, I think, for Intel users, and you also want IOMMU on as well. So with that, let's get on the desktop. Let's see, where am I here? Let's try there. Yeah, here we go, desktop. Now, I wanted to make this a lot easier for folks, so I've expanded my Windows toolbox yet again. Windows toolbox. Oops. I need to probably do GitHub. Drawing blank. I'm half asleep. My kids are out of school today. They gave them like a 4-day week or something. It's crazy. So I woke up late. And let's see here. We're just going to copy this command and we're going to launch into this new updated. I updated this, I think, like 2 or 3 days ago, I think it was. So if you haven't launched in a minute, and added one button here. Enable Hyper-V and WSL. This does a multitude of things. There's about 6 different optional components that this installs. I also went ahead and added WSL in here just because it just makes it a little easier. So let's go. Yeah, type 1 is EXI. Yeah, you could do ESXi. It's actually free for, I think you can do one host with ESXi. So that's why. But yeah, the GUI is where it gets a little trying. All right, but I do agree. I like KVM with Linux better. I do say that. I see chat right now. Beef Curry said Hyper-V is good, but KVM is better. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I do like that setup better. This is just for those that don't want to leave the Windows sphere. And when you're in Windows and you're gaming and all that stuff that you have and you don't want to leave, Hyper-V is probably your best bet for regular virtualization. So let me explain what this button does. We'll just click it. Who cares? It basically goes and grabs all the optional features, and then it also does something that most people don't even realize, and I don't think I've even seen a YouTube video on it, but the bootloader, it does a BCD edit. Because of the CPU scheduling based in Windows is something called root scheduler. They changed this during the Windows 10 era. So it's been changed for about 4 or 5 years now. But it causes problems with Hyper-V in some settings that we're going to go into. You can see, hey, please reboot. It's installed and configured. And what that did, I'll pull up my little script here. And virtualization, I added this right here. What this did was it enabled the hypervisor platform, virtual machine platform, that's WSL, and WSL, obviously, that dependency. These two things don't really need to be. Those are the WSL dependencies. But everything else here is for Hyper-V. And then we have all the Hyper-V dependencies. And then we have that BCD edit, and it changes the hypervisor scheduler type to classic. So with that done, you reboot your machine. As long as virtualization options are in BIOS, you can then come into here and then just type Hyper-V Manager. And one other thing here, you probably noticed it says search indexing is off. I like to come in here and set my Hyper-V settings. I put this usually on a dedicated disk or just a separate disk from my operating system. I think that's just good policy. And then usually what I like to do is take like enhanced mode and take this off because I don't like to use, I don't virtualize Windows very much, if ever, like very, very, very rarely. Maybe for like a YouTube video I might do it, but I just, yeah, I rarely ever do that in this setting. So I usually remove enhanced session mode, which is really good for if you're virtualizing Windows, but for the most part, I never do that. So I set this to this drive, DVM. And then usually what I like to do is come into here and then just hit properties on that D, this win data. And I like to uncheck here to basically disable indexing of that drive. And you don't necessarily have to do the whole drive. You can actually drill down into here and then just go properties and just make sure that this does not index. Just make everything unindexable. And that makes it a lot better because what you don't want is Windows search index indexing your VM as it's running. You're going to run into some performance problems there. Then we got a couple VMs, Manjaro, Ubuntu. Let's download a new one today. Let's do Fedora. I haven't downloaded Fedora in forever. And we'll do something like that. The easy way to do this, which probably everyone shows, which I'm not really going to show today because it's like the Fisher-Price version of Hyper-V, is Quick Create. Quick Create's actually pretty good, but it only does Windows and Ubuntu. So if you want to do like a Windows 11 dev environment or Ubuntu, you can just click Create Machine. It goes and downloads the ISO for you and installs everything for you. And I think it pretty much does the settings as well. However, there's some settings in Linux that doesn't really happen. And Microsoft's kind of done a really crappy job of documenting it. I mean, shocker. But I went ahead and added some scripts that we can run independently to get pretty much any Linux VM up to speed. So that's what we'll do. Oh man, I need some Need some more caffeine. Not a morning person, but at least I'm talking about something I've done about a million times. The other thing here, so once you set up your default settings, you got your virtual switch manager. This is your network that's provided. So you have a whole bunch of different networks here. You have WSL that's actually provided, the default switch that's provided, and then you see this other one, external. You won't have this. You'll just have these default switches usually. You're going to want to do new, external, create, and then you're going to want to select your actual host here. Your adapter here is going to tell you, and you're going to assign that to every virtual machine. This is going to give you good internet connection through out your local access network, and then also or your local area network, and also externally. Don't use the default switch is something that I'd recommend. So all right, so we got that going. How's our Fedora workstation? We got about a minute left. Let me catch up with chat while this finishes going. VMware workstation, yeah. VMware player is not a type 1 hypervisor yet. True. Type 1's EXI, yeah. Yep. I'm so out of it I can barely talk. It's true. It's true. Virtualization is bad for security and privacy. This is completely incorrect. Some of the best security and privacy that you can get is something called compartmentalization. Edward Snowden talked about this and actually recommended a Linux distribution called Cubes. Cubes is all virtualization. Everything's virtualized. The base operating system basically is never touched. Everything you do launches into a new virtual machine, and from that virtual machine you would actually browse the internet, and each individual cube in Cubes is compartmentalized in a virtual machine. So if you were actually trying to be extremely secure and private, virtual machines are something you have to learn. You have to learn virtualization if you actually care about your privacy. Because that compartmentalization is a very, very key tool in actually doing it. I really don't talk about security and privacy mainly because it attracts nut jobs, and I think 99.999% of the people out there just can't ever achieve any level of security or privacy that is any good. So that's why I don't talk about it. But if you are interested in security and privacy, look up Cubes, look up virtualization, learn about compartmentalization, and then you could start that journey. But like I said, for most people, your cell phone's where they get you. Your cell phone's actually way worse than your computer ever will be. And if you are concerned about that, that is what you should be looking at. However, if you're going to be using an Android device or an iOS device and think you're going to be secure or private, you are a silly person. So don't obsess over security and privacy is my tidbit. All right, we're done with Fedora. We're going to launch into a new VM, and I'm going to show you all the options creating that new VM. So we're going to go in and just say new. You can do it from this section, or you can come over here and type new virtual machine. And for this, we're just going to call this one Fedora. And usually I like to, let's see. For some odd reason it wants to store it over here, but our default is there. So here's the first bit is generation 1 versus generation 2. Generation 2 is going to be UEFI based. It's also going to be a lot more performant. I always recommend generation 2 because you can also use PowerShell commands to set resolution and some other fun features that you just don't get with generation 1. Another cool thing about generation 1 and generation 2, generation 1, to set that resolution that I just talked about, instead of using PowerShell command like you would with generation 2, I mean, you could use this in generation 2 as well, but you have to use what's called the Hyper-V frame buffer, and it's a grub setting that has to be set in your Linux install, which kind of sucks. I hate that because you can't do it dynamically, and Gen 2 is a little bit easier. So generation 2 is the short of that. Dynamic memory, this is actually something that Hyper-V came out with. I think they were the first one to ever do dynamic memory. I've never really liked the feature, and frankly, I never use it. I always just disable dynamic memory. Connection, we create that external connection we just did with our virtual switch, and we connect it to our existing, or actually we'll create a new one in that VM one. We'll call it Fedora. Yeah, that's fine. We'll select this ISO file from what we just downloaded. We're going to do Fedora Workstation Live. And now we're going to hit finish. And we'll let that create. Before this powers up for the first time, let's look through the settings here. I want to walk through all the different settings you'd run into in a VM. Firmware. Secure boot. Now this is something that you're not going to want. Secure boot is mainly for Windows 11. You need that enabled, but pretty much everybody else you're not. Memory, that's memory allocated. Processor. Now this is what we did for that BCD edit. If you don't use that one-click button that I set up with the BCD edit, setting the CPU host scheduler to classic instead of root, you're gonna see errors here. I've seen a lot of walkthrough videos with Hyper-V where they don't change that scheduler type, and then they're like, hey, I want to do 6 CPU processors. A lot of times that setting does nothing because the scheduler type is wrong. So you got to make sure you set your scheduler type. Very, very important. I'm going to reiterate that. Let's keep moving. Backups, usually obviously volume shadow copies and most of these settings don't matter. When it comes to Linux, checkpoints, we can leave checkpoints. It's not that big a deal. So automatically start option, I'm gonna just say nope, and then save the virtual machine if we're doing something. So those are the basic settings here. Checkpoints are like snapshots in most hypervisors is what they call them. Checkpoints are pretty cool. We might get into that and then get into some shenanigans with that. And let's see what we got. Let's come up with that. One second. Oh boy. All right. So, I didn't realize green screen. Let's improve that green screen. Oop. All right. This is a little small. I don't know. I don't think there is a scaling option here. We can fix it here shortly, though. We're going to just hit install to hard drive. And then we'll fix our resolution. I'm running in 2560 by 1440p. So that's what's going on. You cannot use this in Windows 10 Home. I just saw that question. That's a good question. It has to be Windows 10 Pro and above, as you won't have access to Hyper-V in Windows 10 Home. You can always upgrade your install, though. The audio in Hyper-V is crappy. I'm going to go into that here in a second. A lot of times that's pulse audio that is problematic. And honestly, I think the Debian-based version is a little bit better on that. Thanks for the super chat, Alex. Hi, Boomer. Care to teach some kids about kids used to smartphones to search file hierarchy? Yeah, I need to get more into smartphones. I just don't really like smartphones at all. That's why I don't really talk about them, because I'd probably be too condescending when I'd be like, back in my day, we used a Razor flip phone and we liked it that way. Or we had our Nokia phones with Snake on it. That's the only games we played on our phones. But, no, I just hate smartphones in general. I think they're a poison to our society. So that's why I don't really cover them very much. I do have like a PinePhone Pro over here I've been tinkering with, but It's not ready for prime time, so I wanted to make a video about that, but yeah, it's still got a ways to go before we can get out of iOS or Android. But it's making progress. I was able to hook it up and get text messages and phone calls on the PinePhone Pro. And that was, I mean, it's okay. It's not great, though. I gotta say. Don't run out and buy one just yet. It's, like I said, need a lot of work. I lasted, I think, 48 hours on it. I tried to daily drive it. And did not go very well. Oh, somebody said they were able to get Hyper-V working on Windows 11 Home. Interesting. I have to see what that is. Huh. Well, yeah, usually you'd set your resolution to whatever you have going. Stretch and scale is something that I really don't use very often ever in any hypervisor. Usually I'd set the resolution to whatever the remote resolution is and then go on my way. So to me, it's not a big deal, but I guess to some, they like the stretch and scale options. I do enjoy it when I'm blowing it up for a video, but usually you'd set these up and that would be that. So let's reboot this guy, and then we'll set a resolution. We could do it both ways here. I'll make a video about this too. I think I have a video pretty much produced to come out tomorrow about Hyper-V. So if you guys miss anything, check tomorrow's video. Thoughts on Proxmox? Proxmox is really good for hobbyists. I love Proxmox for that. It's just I don't particularly care for Proxmox compared to other hypervisors, like, you know, using, you could use ESXi or XCP-ng is probably my favorite if you're going down that road. I love XCP-ng, which is a Zen server fork that's all open source and very good. So let's set up our Fedora. Let's see if we can set the resolution just basic here. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Oh, GNOME 41. All right. So let's see if we can't set our resolution. Sometimes with Hyper-V, resolution does not work. Although I'd say, I think in the latest versions, they fixed a lot of that. Yeah, they have. So here's 1080p right here. Let's see if we can't get the full, like, 1440p experience. Well, actually, yeah, let's see what we can do. Because there is a command we can issue in PowerShell to get this. Let's shut that guy down. And if we come into script, I made a little Hyper-V tools section. And specifically, we can use this to set the resolution. So once that shuts off, did that shut off? Let's see. Does KVM have any cons in Windows? I don't think I've used KVM in Windows. I know it wasn't very good last time I tried. Some people are so used to smartphones, they don't even know what even a file or a folder is even anymore. I know, man. It's sad, Alex. A little depressing, but, you know, it's where we're at. All right. All right, we're going to set this VM. You can see the resolution here, which kind of see it. Can we blow that up? Blow that up a little bit. Setting it to 2560 by 1440. We're going to issue this through a PowerShell command, set VM video. And all you have to do is match it up to the name of the VM. So we named ours Fedora. I'm real original with my VM names here. So come back here. Come on all the way over here. We're going to type Fedora in. Fedora. That sets our video. Come back to here, hit connect, start, and do you want to revert? No, let's just continue. And now you should see, as it adjusts the resolution, reads that PowerShell command all the way out here, you should see some stuff as it boots up. Probably like a journal cleaning, because I think it's ext4 that Fedora uses, but let's see what happens. I don't think I've ever used Fedora with Hyper-V though, so I don't know how this is going to work. You're discovering it with me. Is virtual machine safe? Like, can it harm the specs of a PC? No, yeah, virtual machine's extremely safe. If anything, virtual machines are going to protect your PC. Again, virtualization is paramount, especially when you get into business. Like, there's never a time I set up a server on bare metal anymore. I think there's like, maybe as like a backup domain controller or something, I might use bare metal just to have. But, I mean, entire businesses, this is how they run them. This right here, I mean, it's probably not Hyper-V. Usually you'd be using like VMware Sphere and all that crap that comes with VMware. But it is like this. This is the way you would do it, is all through VMs. You'd have hosts. Typically, you have a whole bank, or a whole rack and stack of like a 44U with a whole bunch of different hosts. And then you have one SAN in there with just loaded down drives. And all those hosts would be spooling up servers. And all of those servers would be running and reading directly from that virtualization. And then if a host go down, typically you'd have high availability, and then that host goes offline. Nobody even knows, except for maybe the IT department. And then that host just shifts down to the next host. And then it's able to do that high availability because the storage isn't even on the computer. I mean, you can get a lot of really cool stuff with doing it this way. So that's why. Virtualization is not only safe, but it's how most businesses are run. And so this is a weird bug. I ran into the same thing with Manjaro, where it only gave me like a little bit above a 1080p resolution. It didn't give me the full 1440p. So I think this might be something with Hyper-V here with how this is constructed. It's kind of weird because let me just shut this down. I do have that Ubuntu instance open. I know Ubuntu gave me the full 1440p. Let's go over there. Check it out. As much as I love Ubuntu. And let's start it up. And you'll notice I have like 3 or 4 machines here, but you can see the allocated memory, and I have, I think, 36 gigs of memory. So obviously you don't want to overload your machine. But a little tip here is most people do like oversubscribe certain hosts. It's usually not that big a deal. Not so much on memory, but processor counts usually do not go 1-to-1. So you might have 3 VMs running. The memory usually fills up, but the processor counts might be double and oversubscribe that certain host if there's not a lot of activity on those certain servers, and then they can be shifted around. So virtualization is extremely flexible. Makes your hardware pretty awesome. So this one's already been optimized, but I did want to get into some of the optimization here. Thanks, Tim. I'm a 16-year-old interested in computer stuff too. Good stuff, man. Yeah, I'm super tired, by the way. Sorry for the low energy stream here, guys. Yeah, I'm just waking up. I woke up about 15 minutes before the stream starts, so I'm kind of like, yeah. Hyper-V Ubuntu is well optimized for it. Do I have a Debian? Let's try and do a fresh Debian install. That'd be a fun one. instead of just grabbing Ubuntu. Because Ubuntu does have that, but Ubuntu works really well with a lot of Windows stuff. I don't have a Debian. Let's just download a Debian installer. Or what do you guys? What does chat think? What should we install? I love Debian though. Let's just grab. We could do like a net install pretty quick. Kali. I mean, Kali's based on Debian. It's pretty much Debian. Network boot. I think we could probably do small CD. Let's see. What do we got for? Yeah, we'll do like a Debian install here. Debian's so funky with where they put their stuff. Well, yeah. Let's just try the 300 meg net install. I've never done a net install of Debian through Hyper-V. Might be interesting. I'd like to try it out. Arch Linux. Yeah, actually, I need to update Arch Titus, speaking of which. I think I pulled did a couple bad pull requests on Arch Titus. Now it's broken. I'm like, the joys of collaboration. So let's grab a new virtual machine. Let's call this one Debian. Gen 2. Let's give it 10 gigs of memory, not dynamic. External, and we'll do Debian. Select that ISO image we just downloaded. See if we can't do a net install. Finish. In here, we need to disable secure boot. Typically take off backup. Shadow copy services. Connect to that. Start. And I don't like graphic installers. It's just not my jam. Not my thing. Give me a CLI any day of the week. They just work. So we'll do CLI for this. Install, see what we get. And we'll call this one Debian. No domain name. Root password, we're gonna not put that in. It's Debian after all. We'll set our password on Central Time since I'm in old Texas. Tejas. All right, all one. We'll write those changes out to disk and then install our Debian-based system. I think that's just a core install. What desktop environment should we put on this, guys? Or should we put a desktop environment? We don't have to. I suppose we should. I haven't even tried tiling window managers with Hyper-V either. Hey, Zero, how's it going? Oh, Arco checked out Arch Titus, was fun to watch. Oh man, yeah. I think it's in a pretty bad state right now. Arch Titus is. I haven't looked at a lot of the stuff. Do companies use Arch at all? Quick question. No, they don't. Arch Linux is not suitable for production environments. No company's going to use it. It was meant for community. But having said that, SteamOS is going to be using Arch, so it'll be one of the first companies to use Arch Linux as a base. And how they're doing it is something super interesting. They're doing it through an immutable file system. It's not Arch as we know it. So what immutable file system is basically they lock down any changes that are happening to it. So you can't really update it in the traditional sense that you wouldn't do like a Pacman SYU to update your Arch Linux. So it's very interesting to see what SteamOS's take. I can't wait till it becomes public. I will be definitely one of the first people to install SteamOS, just because it's so darn interesting that they're using Arch Linux so they can get on the bleeding edge and basically get all the best drivers, get all the really good stuff. But then they're changing its update scheme and putting it as an immutable file system, which is going to be very, very interesting. It's one way to stabilize Arch to a point to where you don't have to worry about your users breaking it, and that's pretty cool. So I'm extremely excited about that. But I have not seen yet anything like that. Now, the first person I've ever seen do kind of like an immutable file system, I want to say like Chimera OS. It used to be called Gamer OS. I think they did the first Arch-based immutable file system. I want to say they locked it by default and just did it that way. So a very gifted developer. It's almost like Steam stole from them or borrowed the idea. I can't help but think that, because the Chimera team, or the person behind it, was the first one to think to use Arch for that, and then did an immutable file system before Steam even announced it, like way before, like a year before the Steam Deck or any of that became a thing. So I can't help but think that people at Valve were like, hey, that guy, I think he's onto something. We should just copy his work and put it on a Steam Deck. Which, I mean, honestly, that's just technology in general. Everybody copies everybody. Do folks at your part-time know you watch or watch your YouTube channel? I think, David, I think what you're asking is at my work. Yeah. One of our new hires, basically my replacement, he watched me. He actually found me through YouTube, and he reached out to me. He was like, hey, I'm in the area and I'm looking for a job, and that's how I hired him. So yeah. But yeah, other folks at my work do know about it, and yeah, they're pretty supportive. Eventually I'll probably do YouTube full time, but oh, I don't know. I probably need to do my own thing. I'm just super lazy. And I really enjoy my job too, so it's like, hey, yeah, I'm cool with them. Like, if they ever wanted to downsize me, I did want to hire a replacement, just because I know I'm not nearly as responsive as I once was. That's why I hired him. But yeah, one of these days I will probably do this full time. I mean, it's pretty much there, and it's not a issue of money or anything like that. It's just some days I don't want to make videos, and I'm just like, meh. So that's kind of like one of those nice fallbacks, is I got other things going on to where I don't have to make a video if I don't want to. I'm Windows 10 Pro and Hyper-V sucks. Well, you might be using an old scheduler. You might not have your hypervisor set up properly with the BIOS settings correctly. Obviously, if you're sitting there and it's taking a long time to install, or it's real sluggish, then you probably got something wrong. Let's see, what do we want to use? I want to say I usually use LeaseWeb. They have a DFW mirror that is pretty awesome from LeaseWeb. Windows 10 and Windows 11, which one's better? I don't think either one's better, so to speak. Windows 10, I think, is a little bit more reliable. Windows 11, I think, looks a lot better. And for me, Windows 11 is stable enough. For a business, no. I would still be using Windows 10. Still am. And, you know, that'll probably be the case for probably another 2-3 years. I usually wait at least 2 to 3 years after a product comes out before even considering it for a business. Windows is lame, Linux is better. It just depends on what you're doing. Is your shared screen on the right or in your chat on the left? Pretty much. So this is the chat. This is my shared screen. My Hyper-V is about 95% of native. Yeah, and that's about right. I mean, you still lose a little bit even with a Type 1, but it's not very much. So this is going to take a little bit longer to install, guys, too, because this is a net install, meaning nothing resides on this machine. It has to download everything, and I'm streaming at the same time. What should we use for this one? Do we use GNOME again? No, let's do, like, you know, let's change it up. Let's do LXQT. Or now, you know what? I haven't done XFCE in forever. Let's do XFCE. Yeah, QEMU sucks on Windows. It's awful. If you're gonna do QEMU, you need to use Linux. I mean, I tried the Windows counterpart and it was just, no. No, don't, it was not good. So if you're going to use Windows, Hyper-V is probably the best for performance. And then what everybody uses is VirtualBox because it's just so friendly, so user-friendly. So that's why that happens. Oh, KDE, beeping. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Well, I was thinking download-wise, Akari, suggest LXQT, but it has been a while since I've done LXQT. There's some really good distros. If you have like a potato that just you want an operating system on, you could do like a Lubuntu that runs like a LXQT base. And I mean, I've installed that on a netbook. If you remember the netbooks from back in the day that had like 2 gigs of RAM, like not even a Celeron processor. I think they were using like nano processors or atom processors. I think it was atom processors, and it ran pretty good on that. I mean, it was still a netbook. So, I mean, but a lot better than Windows would ever run. That's for sure. Is VirtualBox slow and bad? Nah, I mean, VirtualBox isn't like slow and bad, I would say. VirtualBox just, you're not going to get as much performance compared to like Hyper-V. You're not going to get a lot of that. Like Linux with QEMU, again, Linux just has a lot less overhead than VirtualBox has to deal with. VirtualBox has to contend with a lot of things. I think it's really cool software and good for someone to learn on. It's just not very suitable for a production environment. Debian versus Ubuntu. They say Debian is a little bit more advanced than Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is based on Debian. Ubuntu is Debian for the most part. It's just Debian with some optimizations. Ubuntu, made by Canonical, is often known as the first user-friendly distribution. I mean, that's its pretty much claim to fame. And it's obviously fallen off in recent years because so many other Linux distributions have kind of gotten their act together and made things a lot more user-friendly to where Ubuntu is not really the only thing in town anymore that a noob could install. And Yeah, I mean, Linux Mint is, I think, way better. But Linux Mint is also based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian. Linux Mint also has another spin that is based directly off Debian that doesn't use Ubuntu as well. But I like Mint because they take kind of a sane approach to a lot of the stuff for noobs. But all these things I've just talked about are all really Debian at its core. The thing that people miss about Debian on these installs is it's not exactly user-friendly. Like, even the download link for Debian is pretty much a joke. Like, trying to find the proper download for Debian can be problematic. Also, configuring the operating system can be a little bit troublesome, just because finding everything that you need for your system and getting it set up just the right way might take you a lot longer. Well, it will take you a lot longer than most other distributions. But my argument here for Debian is, well, it's very, very stable. And as long as you know what you're doing, it is probably one of the best, if not the best, distributions for desktop users. What is the best virtualization software you can run on Mac OS? That's a good question. I don't think I've ever run virtualization software on Mac OS. Trying to think. I've emulated Mac OS a bunch. And I've done Boot Camp and some other things. Parallels, probably. I've done Parallels now that I think about it. Parallels, I know, was one of the first to have virtualization software for the M1 chip, and it's pretty good. But it's been a long time since I've actually dived into it, so I really can't recommend anything. But I would say definitely check out Parallels if you're into virtualization and you're running a Mac. Oh yeah, here, chat Parallels. Yep. Yeah, I think I was part of the beta for Parallels, and I got that beta request for the M1 a year ago. So I'm sure Parallels is working just fine on an M1 now. Yeah, Mac has no Type 1 virtualization. That's true. It does have Parallels, QEMU, VMware, VirtualBox. Okay, so it has all those. That's cool. Oh, really? I didn't know that the glibc stuff was out of date on Arch. 2 CVEs behind. I mean, that happens every once in a while. I mean, there's so much to keep up with, but I'm surprised that the Arch repos were that far behind. I wonder if Manjaro and those were also behind. I know Manjaro uses different repos. Can you do a GPU pass-through guide? I've actually done a GPU pass-through guide, believe it or not. 1 second here. Let me copy this guy. And we'll paste this so people know what I'm replying to. Yeah. Nope. 1 second here. Oh, you know what? Pick this guy. And we'll just put that at the top. So I've actually done pass-through guide before. I did, I think, 3 or 4 videos on it. It's pretty time-consuming and technically demanding. But I used actually a guide. He's in chat right now. Hikari Knight made that guide back in 2019 when I did it, and it was a good guide. I know things have changed a little bit since then, and I haven't really used much in the way of PCI pass-through, just because it requires multiple video cards for the most part, and video cards are like gold. So that's why I don't really use them much anymore. Ever have any issues getting devices to work properly when plugged into a USB hub that is passed through? I have. I think USB pass-through can be a little bit troublesome for a lot of different hypervisors. It just depends on the hypervisor. I like to use as bare metal hypervisors as you possibly can. This kind of helps things along, and you run into a lot less problems. Hyper-V, I don't think I've really used that much. I wanted to just kind of showcase it today because a lot of people want to stay in Windows for whatever reason, and Hyper-V would probably be their best hypervisor to use if you're just staying in Windows and you want some good performance. Hello, France. Are you going to save the stream? Yes, all the streams are saved. If you actually click on my name and go to the main channel homepage, there's a section for live streams, and all the live streams are saved there. And you can always reference these. I do unlist them, so you're never going to see them in your feed. You're never going to see them in the algorithm. I know some people like leave them in their uploads, and I think that just kind of kills a channel. And I've had people I've been subscribed to, because I watch a lot of YouTube too, and when they do that, it's like aggravating to me because I'm trying to search for content. And I'm like, all I see are these 4-hour live streams. And I wanted people that want to search them out, they can, just by clicking my name, going to my main channel and going live streams. That's the playlist. And actually, I think if you look in the description, you'll see the actual playlist down there too that you could click on to see all the past live streams. But that's where you find them. But you're not going to see them pop up in your recommended feeds just because I don't roll that way with old YouTube. It doesn't do well. It's like shorts. I hate shorts. YouTube shorts are awful. I think you can do shorts properly. It's just you can't publish that to your subscriber stream. I think that's just maddening. How they're set up and how YouTube does them is just, yeah. Have you ever tried single GPU pass-through? I have not, because it never made any sense to me. I was like, just dual boot at that point, because you can't go back to your host that for that VM. If you do the pass-through to that VM, you'd have to shut down the VM to go back to the host. And I was like, well, at that point, just dual boot. So that's why I don't really care about single GPU pass-through. Oh, yeah. I think it is. If you look at, oh, I got some artifacting here. If you look at here, you got your hardware, and you can actually, I think there should be like an add hardware section. Yeah, right here. And I think you can pass through this somehow. It's not showing here, but yeah, I want to say you could have like a secondary card and then pass that card through to your Hyper-V instance. However, just passing through a couple USB ports, I don't think you can do directly in a Hyper-V. So that's one downside, I think. Oh, man. You know, I downloaded Chrome OS Flex. So that's Chrome OS for regular folk that don't want to buy like a Chrome OS machine. And yeah, man, it's that's cool. I mean, I like Chrome OS. You know, if you like the Chrome ecosystem, Chrome OS is actually a pretty good operating system. It's a very performance based, even though they put it on like a potato all over the place with Chromebooks. And it's very, very, like, the thing that impresses me most about Chrome OS is its power management. It has some of the best power management in the industry. And a lot of people just think of it as a glorified browser. And Chrome OS does a lot more than just be a browser. There's a lot of really cool things you can do in it. It's just every main YouTube channel just craps on Chrome OS because they don't understand a lot about how it's constructed and what goes behind the scenes on it, and it's just like a punching bag for influencers. And most people in the Linux realm don't want to actually defend it because, well, it's Google. Google's fun to beat up on. So that's why you don't hear too many positive things about Chrome OS. But I do like Chrome OS, and I think Chrome OS Flex is a good thing. But it's spyware. It is. It's Chrome. It's Google. That's kind of like their shtick. Maybe I do have a little bit of a cold. I don't know. Here in Texas, it just keeps going hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. It's like, just pick something. How we doing on our install? Good thing I said XFCE. If I said GNOME, this probably would have been like, take forever. I should have just downloaded the full ISO so I didn't have to download each one of these repositories independently. That was a mistake on my part. I'm very congested for sure. Hey, what's up, Michael? Michael's in the house. Oh yeah, Michael, we can show your, while we're waiting for this to install, Michael set up a new form, which everybody can check out, which is maintained. I don't really do forums or Discord or any of that anymore, but this is probably the closest thing that should be managed by him. Was it christitus.org you said? Yeah. Easy Linux. EasyLinux.net. That's what the forum was. And you got all the main regular stuff where they do networking. If you have a question, this is a new forum that he set up. It's really, really good. I'll start pushing people here, as I think it's pretty much set up now, right, Michael? Because he's been with the channel forever too. He's one of my first patrons back when I did Patreon. So check this out. EasyLinux.net. Very cool. Why do you use Brave? It's very shady. Every browser's shady though. that's like this is a good one. Where is that? Just saw it. Yeah. So every browser uses and farms your information for profit. And the ones that don't, well, I think like WaterFox and some other ones, they're so old that like they use like a base source code from like 3 years ago or something crazy. At least last time I looked into them. And that's just, you know, out of the big browsers out there, there's none of them that I'm like, wow, this browser's great. All of them are kind of crap. And that's kind of, you know, pick the lesser of whatever evil it is you're looking at. Sad to say, but I do like Brave. Brave's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, it's okay. I'm not going to endorse them, but at the same time, it's not awful. Yeah, see, this is one thing I don't understand. Like, why, as a business, like, the last thing I'd ever want to do is weigh in on politics. Like, why would you insert yourself into a political conversation? That is just ridiculous. Like, asinine to me. Just say no. I'm independent. I don't have thoughts on whatever political stance you have. I don't get it. Like, I guess some people think that they're so important that they influence people, but no, you just make people bad. I don't understand that. That's nuts. LXQT, yeah. You got a great name, Chris. Great name. But yeah, LXQT is pretty cool. I love LXQT because of how lightweight it is. If you're looking for something super lightweight, the only desktop environment that is lighter weight than LXQT, I think, is OpenBox. And OpenBox is not nearly as flushed out, I think, as LXQT, which is pretty cool. What do you think about Vivaldi? I actually used Vivaldi for a long time. Actually, if you go back to, I think, early 2019 videos, I was on Vivaldi, and it just got so bloated and slow for me that I ended up switching to Brave, and I've been on Brave ever since. But I used to use Vivaldi. They had a couple bad updates for me that really just did not perform well. Best Arch-based distro for beginners? Probably Manjaro. Manjaro's pretty noob friendly for a Arch-based distro. Is it really that bad being farmed for profit as long as it doesn't cost you? I mean, that's just kind of where it's at. I mean, that's kind of like the internet in general. I mean, heck, we're all on YouTube right now. So it depends on your views on it. I mean, I still look back at the early days of the internet with a little bit of rose-colored glasses where everything was gatekept by like a $5 subscription fee. How viable is that business model anymore? And the answer there is not very viable. But yes, that's just kind of how the internet works nowadays. No, actually the browser start page it's an extension. So this is actually called Momentum Dash. It's a free extension. They do have like a paid like calendaring and to-dos and all this other crap, but I don't use any of that. I just use the free thing, and then I look at my focus today. What is my focus today? I need my thumbnail done for Saturday. So I gotta do my thumbnail for tomorrow's video. So once that's done, that's my main focus today. So every time I open up a new browser tab, I need to do my thumbnail. It kind of reminds me of my main objective for today, and then it forces you to focus on that one objective and make sure you do it. So that's what I like, and it's free. And it also has this pretty picture, and not that terrible Brave picture where it's like, we've blocked a gajillion ads and a whole bunch of stuff that has like, does not matter. And then, oh, by the way, here's a whole bunch of crypto stuff that will probably scam you out of your money. So I like blocking all that stuff and just using Momentum Dash, and it changes it to this beautiful landscape with just the time, wishing me a good morning or good afternoon or a good evening, and then my objective of the day. And then it has this nice quote: a surplus of effort could overcome a deficit of confidence. Deficit of, I can't even read. A deficit of confidence. I love that. That's a good quote. Surplus of effort could overcome a deficit of confidence. Nice. But yeah, it always has these cool quotes that I like. Yeah, it's a good little extension. Highly recommend it. What do you think about OpenSUSE? I like it. OpenSUSE is neat. I like Zypper as a package manager. I think it's one of the few Linux package manager that actually is sensical with how you install stuff. It's like Zypper install package, Zypper purge package. It's a pretty good package manager. And I like Yast that comes with it. It's like a control center for Linux. I like the idea of a lot of it. The distribution itself is a little bit niche and not well supported when it comes to a lot of external projects. So I don't really ever use or install OpenSUSE anymore. I did install it for a little bit. I remember back when I first started YouTube, I was trying like all these like 1 week, I tried this distro this week, I tried this distro the next week. I don't really do that anymore because a lot of times I'm just like, based on Slackware, or this one's based on Debian, or this one's based on Arch, or this one's based on RHEL. Pretty much it'll fall into one of those 4 categories. Oh, yeah, yeah. Is that Norway? Was that Norway? That is Norway. Beautiful country. I'd like to be sitting here right now than in this chair. Oh, that's gorgeous. That is Norway, though. Ah, oh, thanks, Agari. Pointing that out. Yes. I am enjoying that. This is a good question. LXDE versus LXQT. LXDE is deprecated now, so everything is LXQT. LXQT, I think, was based on LXDE, and then they basically upgraded it to the QT toolset. I could be incorrect here, but from my understanding, LXQT is in active development where LXDE is not, and LXQT is pretty much what you should use. Apt is terribly slow. Agreed. This is a good example of apt being terribly slow. Now, you can do a bunch of different stuff to speed up apt, obviously not during the install. Like I said, I should have just downloaded the ISO. That was my bad. And I got some bad cursor artifacting right now, but I think it was like apt. What was the apt? It was apt threading, multi-threading. Can't remember the plugin for it. What was that software? Apt Fast. That's what it was. So anyways, check out apt-fast. If you're interested in using an app-based plugin, like Ubuntu uses it, Debian uses it, a lot of distros use apt. Install apt fast. This will do multi-threading, and it'll download multiple packages at the same time, and it'll speed up your apt installs like a lot. So I highly recommend apt fast. That's a good good comment, man. Apt is slow as all get out. Yeah, there we go. There's Hikari, beat me to it. Chat beat me to it. But yes, you can speed up apt to where it's not awful. Check out Qt Browser. Yeah, Qt Browser's cool. So I wonder, I don't think Qt Browser's going to be in. Yeah, I use Qt Browser all the time when I'm installing tiling window managers, because Qt Browser is based to where you don't need to use your mouse to browse the internet, and everything can be done with keyboard shortcuts. So it's really cool, especially if you're into tiling window managers in Linux. Qt Browser is really neat. Do you use DevOps, Chris? Like I've done DevOps, but yeah, I don't know a product named DevOps. So yeah, I used to interface a lot. I used to be an IT director, and I interface a lot with like a database team and helped design workflows for companies. Or a company, the big company I worked for at the time. So I've done it. Don't particularly care for it. Not my cup of tea. I like a lot of infrastructure-based stuff professionally. Are you connected via VNC right now? So a good idea, like this right here is obviously the bare metal for this, but Hyper-V itself, this is something I should explain why we're on the subject of Hyper-V and I'm kind of doing this install. Everything's done with like an RDP instance for the most part. So this is actually, you can actually see the RDP interface here with Hyper-V. And when it interfaces a lot with Linux, the XRDP package is usually utilized. However, a lot of times it is not set up correctly and you run into a laggy performance. When I say that Hyper-V is a lot more performant than VirtualBox, some people might say VirtualBox works better for me. And to that I say, you probably don't understand that Hyper-V is probably working a lot faster, but how it's displaying things through XRDP is not well optimized, so it feels laggier. And you could actually optimize XRDP to actually fix that. But that's a very good point, where a lot of hypervisors will use VNC or even Spice. I like Spice, honestly, the best. But Hyper-V does use like a version of RDP to display the virtual machine. And some people, I think Cloud Computing did a video where he split his GPU among multiple virtual machines, and I think he was using Parsec to remote into those virtual machines from elsewhere on the network, and then use that one machine to game on like 2 boxes. Thoughts on WaterFox? Last time I looked at WaterFox, it was a bit out of date. LibreWolf, I have not actually checked out. I need to probably dive deeper into that one. I have not used Top Grade. What's Top Grade? Always interesting. I loved getting stuff from chat. Upgrade. Upgrade everything. I like the name. Oh, that's interesting. Invoking multiple package managers. This results in a non-portable one-liner shell. Oh, that's cool. So Top Grade detects the tools you use and runs the appropriate commands to update them. So that'll update like pip, cargo, the AUR, Pacman. I mean, you could use this in Debian too, I bet. That's pretty neat. Top Grade. All right, I'm gonna bookmark that. Put that in the projects folder. Let's just call this Top Grade. That's a good suggestion. All right, installation's finally complete. Doing a net install was dumb. I'm not gonna do that again. All right, let's fix this up. I did want to show XRDP a little bit because out of the gate, I don't think XRDP is well optimized for many systems out there. And I think we could just, I found this really neat script for XRDP that should fix this up for us. You can see it's a little bit laggy, or at least it has the appearance of laggy, I should say. And we can fix that. Let's see, open folder. Yeah, not great. So let's go into fix that aspect of it. I think it's like an XRDP. Let's pull up our web browser. But before we do that, do we have any settings that I can set for this? It's been a bit since I did XFCE. Man, it is so ugly out of the gate. They need to do a better job of packaging their stuff. We can make this look pretty, but display. Yeah, so this one only has 1024, but that's okay. Let's fix that real fast. Let's try to do our PowerShell, since this is a Gen 2, really quick. Let's set that up and see if this one actually takes the full 1440p or not. And I think this is called Debian. All right, let's just set that resolution, start it again. And let's see if we get a better resolution by setting it in PowerShell. Oh, it updates Git directories too. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'll check out Top Grade a bit more. Bash or ZSH. I kind of go back and forth between the two. I absolutely like both Bash and ZSH for different reasons. So ZSH has, I think, some of the prettier projects. If you want to use ZSH, check out Power Level 10K. It's absolutely amazing. But when I'm in Bash, a lot of times I really like to use Starship to customize my shell. It's pretty awesome as well. So there's not really video drivers with Hyper-V. It's kind of funky, like how it does things on Hyper-V. A lot of times it uses like a little frame buffer to display things in XRDP, and we need to run a fix-up script for XRDP so the host operating system, which is Windows 11, interfaces properly with our Linux VM, so it'll display things in a normal way. But it does look like this is going to do the full screen resolution. We still need to do that fix-up script to just make sure everything works properly. But it does look like this one will actually do things properly. Which other YouTube channels do you recommend for your Linux content? It depends on how you learn things. There's a lot of good Linux creators out there. Brody Robertson's pretty good. I think he does a lot of educational stuff. DistroTube's he's probably one of the bigger names. Linux Experiment, he has some cool stuff on his channel too. And I would say Old Tech Bloke's also really good. If I hadn't said him already, he's a interesting guy. It's just some of the Linux content's a little long-winded, so that can be a little bit problematic when learning. Did this freeze? What's going on? Okay, there we go. It was stuck. I'm using Synergy over here to interface with two computers. It was like, what are you doing? But there's a lot of good creators. I hate to just pick out a couple, but those are the ones off the top of my head that I'm like, oh yeah, these guys make some good stuff. All right, let's fix up. Let's launch our browser. What browsers come loaded with this? Oh, Firefox, of course. Of course it's Firefox. Okay, ooh, all right. Let's go XRDP script. And, oh, actually, you know what? I think I have a GitHub with that. But I think it's this one right here. Does this have Debian though? This looks like, is it Ubuntu only? I guess there's one way to find out. But this fix-up script for XRDP does a couple things. You can do sound with it. You can do video with it. It improves the performance and how Hyper-V actually utilizes it. So let's I don't know where it's download. This is where I got the script from though, and then I just modified it to what I like. Although I haven't run it on Debian yet, so let's see what happens. But Griffin is the original creator of that script, so I made, yeah. See, I just one-to-one copied it. I don't think I changed too much from his script, so I just wanted an easy way to download it. And he didn't have it on GitHub for some odd reason, so whatever. Let's make this, I'm gonna fix this profile so you guys can see just fine. Let's go preferences. Let's clean up the appearance. Monospace, let's go like a 20 font. Green on black's fine. We have a transparency layer. Transparent, ah yes. Give it like a 70 transparency. Ah, yeah, there we go. Make it a little bit clean. Let's just do a wget of that script, and we're gonna chmod execute deb, and then I think we can just run deb sh, and this kind of fixes up, make sure all the packages that are needed for XRDP, so Hyper-V functions properly, are installed. And then we can also fix the sound on this, so then we can grab sound. I think someone earlier said Hyper-V with Linux-based stuff, the sound's all wonky. And I think if you do a space-s on the script, it will fix up the sound on your Hyper-V instance as well. And that way you have like this optimized version of Debian that feels basically like I could be in here and no one would even know I'm on a Windows instance. Obviously, I have this pinned up here, but I would just unpin it, and then people would be none the wiser. And let's just do -s for sound as well. And this will grab like all your Pulse Audio stuff and do a fix-up for this to fix the sound as well. And then what we'll do is get on YouTube and play a little YouTube video so you can see what this looks like on Hyper-V as well. Do you like tiling window managers? Yeah, I love tiling window managers. I could just spend days and weeks and years on tiling window managers. They're just so much fun. But it's not for everybody. Like I said, I'm the type of guy that'll spend a month to fix or make things like the way they should be for whatever task it is I'm trying to accomplish, and make it a little more efficient. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay. On to the next thing. It's like modding out a game or something like that, where the process of modding the game is more fun than playing the game. I'm a little weird in that way. All right, there we go. Zapped my Steam Deck and it went black. That was weird. Is that a challenge? Yeah. Yeah, Hikari. Challenge. I need to get back to doing some challenges. WSL is pretty darn cool. Thanks for the super chat there, Scott. I'm looking to take my system and build a base Linux system that has all the apps out of VM or Docker containers. Any suggestions for the best host OS? I would definitely say Linux. What version of Linux is really the question, and that's really, it boils down to personal preference. And there's so many good versions of it. It's hard for me to point to one. I would probably say Debian is probably the most rewarding, and it'll probably be the best end result if you get everything set just right. I love Debian. If you want to be more bleeding edge with your host OS, then probably Arch would be really good, or Arch-based OS. It just depends. It just depends on that for you as a person. But and what you're comfortable with. If you're new to Linux, probably Ubuntu. Ubuntu has probably the easiest setup for the host OS, but for what you're explaining with the containers and everything, it sounds like you're a little bit past using Ubuntu. It's not that it's bad, it's just, it just depends on you as a person. But obviously running VMs and Docker containers, a Linux host OS with QEMU is probably the best rewarding. Like on my no compromises system, what I was doing for like gaming is I was using Moonlight, and I had everything set up on there, and yeah, that was probably the best, because no matter what I wanted to do, I had Mac, I had Windows, I had Linux, and I had all the containers and VMs that you could possibly do for everything, and that's why I did that. Since I've been this past week, I've been maining Windows 11 just to kind of get back into it, give it another fair shake, and it's been good for the most part. I know VirtualBox for Windows 11's been not great. I know it didn't work for the first couple months, but it seemed to be okay. Hyper-V has been obviously the best for performance, and that's kind of why I'm showing it today for my VMs. And as far as containers go, you probably need to start looking into Kubernetes and getting off of Docker. Kubernetes is a little bit more streamlined. I'm still using a lot of Docker though, in all transparency, just because Docker's kind of what I know, and I just haven't taken the time to really learn Kubernetes like I know Docker. So that's kind of where I'm at. But great question. Pentatonics, great band. Actually, I think they're local. They're from Arlington. Anyways, a year ago I started watching your content. I moved up to junior sysadmin. Congrats, man. The previous gentleman left. Your content definitely helped me make the right moves and decisions. Thanks. Appreciate that, man. I'm always trying to find something new to teach folks, and that's one thing. When I'm making videos, like this week has been kind of focused on Hyper-V, just because I haven't ever made any Hyper-V videos, and I was like, it's been a while, and I need to revisit it. So if you ever deal with it, I'm always trying to find something new for folks to learn and not just rehash the same thing. So it drives me crazy when I'm subscribed to someone and I watch like 10 videos and I'm like, this guy just says the same thing over and over. So it's good to hear, man. I'm glad you're getting value out of it. That's what I love the most about what I do, is teaching people stuff. Doing BCS in CSE. Now for software development, which language should I learn? Ooh, I'm probably not the person to ask for here. I think a lot of people right now, the hot code language to learn is Rust. I know a lot of people are obsessing about Rust, but man, I'm pretty old school. Like when I was doing programming, it was back in the late 90s, and I was using C++, and I don't know very much. I'm okay with scripts and basic top-down formats, top-down programming, but I don't know very many languages. So I can definitely, I don't have a pulse on the programming environment now. I bet chat could probably recommend something, but I know Rust is what is very popular right now. But I mean, you got JavaScript, you got a lot of different other programs that programming languages that have a lot of use cases. Python, you see that a lot. I think if I had to pick three right now, it would probably be those three between the two, because they're so different between all three of them that if you learned each of them, I think you'd be a pretty deadly force to learn. I having a little bit of everything and then figuring out which one you like the best, and then diving deep into that, becoming an expert in that one field would probably be good. Yeah, a lot of Python, Rust. Okay, JavaScript. Yeah, so I was pretty much on the nose there. Well, thanks, chat. Shockingly. You need to learn C. Go learn some Cobalt. No, I'm kidding. I'm not that old. Sorry if I offended anybody in the audience by saying that, but all right. So we have the fix-up script for RDP in here. Let's see if this helps assist our system. Let's log out, give it a little restart, and see what we have. XRDP is basically RDP. It's what's displayed. Think of VNC, like how you display certain VMs. VNC is just kind of a display metric, where RDP is like what Windows mainly uses. Remote Desktop Protocol, I think, is what it stands for, and it's what all of the Windows systems pretty much use, and Hyper-V uses it to interface with guest operating systems when you're using VMs. So that's why we are kind of fixing up XRDP to be a little bit more performance-based, and then it should fix our audio too. Let me see. Oh, I still got that message up on the screen too. Let's clear that out. All right, so let's come on over here. Let's pull up YouTube. Chris Titus Tech. Let's see if it can play a video through our VM. How do you think this is gonna look? Let's just grab the old Pine phone here. All right. Audio still doesn't sound... I don't hear anything. Yeah, I don't hear anything. Let's go audio mixer. Output devices. I don't really see anything here. Bummer. So, skip ads. Come on. Nobody likes ads. It looks pretty good, but we need to fix our sound. I think I ran into the same problem on my Ubuntu instance, maybe. Also mixer, maybe? Do we have... So this is actually not working at all. AVU control. Yeah, that's what I was just in. Weird. I'll have to look into this. Very odd. But I will say this is working really well. I don't have any latency other than not having sound. How important is sound? All right. Well, that's something. Does Hyper-V have an audio adapter? Let's shut this down. Let's take a look at our VM, and we're just gonna shut this Debian instance down, and let's take a peek if we have hardware. SCSI network fiber channel. Can we add any hardware? We got hard drive. I do not see anything in here. But again, I haven't really used Hyper-V in Windows 11. It does feel like since the last time I used Hyper-V, they've removed a bunch of features. It's like Microsoft purposely gimped Hyper-V. I would say we need to... Yeah, there used to be something called Remote FX too for GPUs, which was really nice, but it looks like they removed that feature as well. No audio, Hyper-V. What does that give me? Under local resources where remote audio is. Okay, that's a Windows setting. Yeah, this stream's saved. Nullify. You just click on my name, it's right there. Yeah, it'll virtually play audio, but it's just not passing through the audio device. So, no audio, Hyper-V, Linux. Also force lead. So it wants me to do a kill pulse audio, sleep 2 seconds, force also to reload, and then start pulse. A lot of different solutions here. Probably this Ulsa base one is one that I'd like to do, because I don't want to be This might fix it, but it'll fix it just intermittently. And I'd like to just make it a permanent change. Doing like a mod probe D is probably the way to go here. So let's reboot this back in and see if we can't get that going. Check for Hyper-V enhanced session. Oh. Yeah. Let's stop that. Turn off. Here we go. I think I've actually disabled enhanced session. I usually don't like enhanced session, but I bet you. All right, let's do enhanced session mode. Sure. So it's probably that, and then we refresh it. Does it give me anything but fiber? No. Integration services? No. All right. Let's I probably should have stopped the service and restarted the service now that I'm thinking about it. Well, we did enable enhanced session there, but I'm not sure it took. It's typically, if you're going to make a change like that, you probably should restart the service in typical Windows fashion. Or any OS for that matter, really. All right, let's see. All right, let's see here. It still shows just dummy output, but let's see what happens when we skip ads. No, still nothing. Shows on the dummy output, but let's do that mod probe D. Hyper-V Linux. I already did the XRDP settings. I've already got that set up. Install Pulse Audio. So probably looking at this, XRDP Pulse Audio installer is probably what we need. Let's look up that. These instructions are a bit dated, so. Three months ago? That's good. So it's just a sudo make install. Pavu meter in the XRDP session. Play back any video on Firefox. All right. Let's take a peek. All right, prerequisites. Let's grab our dependencies here. Did I already have? No, I didn't. Let's put this guy in. All those are already there. Let's make a build directory. Yeah. Whatever, paste. All right. Run the required convenient script. So we'll just go scripts. That says scripts, but maybe it's a typo. Oh, no. Scripts. Install pulse audio sources .apt .sh. Oh, no, the wrapper is what we need. All right. So I'm thinking that it's just this XRDP module. I thought that script I had set all this up, but maybe not. Let's see how it goes. We're gonna follow this through because it's showing dummy output tells me there's just no sound done at all. Oh yeah, I guess I should check to see if it's in the the Debian repos. It's a good question. While we're sitting here, Pulse Audio XRDP, Pulse Audio dash module XRDP. I bet you it's not. How much you want to bet? Let's open a new tab. Let's just see. Apt. Find Pulse. Or actually, let's just do apt list grep pulse audio. So, does the pulse audio module XRDP exist? Survey says negative. How did I know that it would not be there? It ain't there though. All right, continuing on. It's probably in some distro somewhere or some repo somewhere. But we're gonna just get it from the source here. What is your daily driver right now? Let's see. Hit chat up. Arch, Ubuntu, or Debian? Right now, my daily drivers, I guess I'm dual booting Windows right now. So Windows is mainly my daily driver right now. But, I dual boot. So right now on the dual boot, I have Arch. But that kind of bounces around. I need to fix up my Arch Titus script again. But I've been gaming a whole bunch, doing a bunch of League of Legends. I've been addicted to that stupid game. And yeah, that's why I've been in Windows on my dual boot, just because it's a competitive game and every millisecond is important. So that's why I usually play games through Moonlight, and yeah. Yeah, League is not healthy. I played way too long yesterday. I'm like, all right, I'm not playing today. Got stuff to do. All right, now we build the XRDP pulse audio module. Oh, it's still building. We'll paste that in after this, though. Serious Sam. Ah, that's been around for a long time. I don't think I ever played it, though. What rank are you? Iron. I am terrible at the game. I've been playing it over on Twitch. So usually if I'm going to play League of Legends, I'll usually stream it on Twitch to like 8 people. It's fun. No offense, but you're not good enough to make every millisecond matter. I think that's a fair assessment, Peter. I'll take that. I'll take that with a grain of salt. I got demoted. I was in bronze, but I wasn't good enough for bronze. Oh. Have you played Sifu yet? No, I have not, Demon. How can I emulate BIOS UEFI and QEMU x86? Well, usually it uses like Tiana Core or a different type of BIOS. There's a chipset that gets set in QEMU. You can actually see it. There's a little drop down in Vert Manager, but you need to set all that chipset up in the BIOS before you create the VM. And it'll use different BIOSes to emulate whether you want to do UEFI or BIOS 1. I want to say, don't take my word for this, just going from memory. I think it was like i440 does UEFI. The stock one that it's on, I think, is like i35 or something. And that one is BIOS based. It's legacy only. So you don't necessarily want to use that. Man, this is really churning out on the build process here. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Hikari has it. This is your answer. A little bit more clearer than my answer. Tiana Core's UEFI, C BIOS is regular old legacy BIOS. But these days you pretty much should be using Tiana Core. Pretty much everything should be UEFI. I mean, it's not bad. I honestly like the look of Windows 11 better than Windows 10. I think the aesthetic in them modernizing a lot of the settings menu, I think was a good thing. Like the Metro UI from Windows 10 drove me crazy, and I hated the start menu. And Windows 11, I think they did a good job of reskinning Windows 10, basically. But there's not a whole lot of difference between Windows 10 and Windows 11. A lot of people treat it like this brand new operating system, but like very, very few changes between the two have happened. And the kernel itself and the underlying OS is really not that different. So it's not bad. I have not encountered a flickering screen. It always happens when I open a new web page. Gregan, I think you got something else going on there. Check your video drivers and also, yeah, see if there's anything else there. Ooh. SCH root failed. I don't know. We'll see if this works or not. Do they still require a MS account for Windows 11? I don't think so. I think this is... Yeah, see? I installed mine without it. Yeah, it's a local account. Oh, oops. Sorry, you can't see that. Oop. Yeah. So mine's just a local account. I probably will sync up my Microsoft account at some time to it, just because I need some stuff from the Windows Store sometimes, and you just can't get it. But yeah, this is my generic Windows 11 local account setup, so it's not required. So you don't need it. It's just like a lot of stuff from Microsoft Store is going to be a little bit problematic. Like, I still installed WSL on a local account, though. I think WSL's on here. Let's see. I say it's on here. Let's see. Maybe WSL doesn't like it when Hyper-V is running. Really? Let's see. There's Ubuntu. Just taking a long time to launch, maybe? Let's just kill it. Why do I have so many of these open? Let's try it in the process tree, maybe? In process tree. There's WSL. It feels like it's trying to launch, but maybe something. Oh, there it is. Yeah. We can make this look a little prettier, can't we? Default profile. PowerShell's fine. We need to make a little more opacity, though. So, appearance. Dark theme, please. Acrylic view, that's fine. Ubuntu, appearance. Font size. Let's bring that up a little bit. I'll go 16. Font weight. Ooh, color scheme. I want to say probably like a 1/2 dark. A little bit better. Solarized is impossible to read. Tango dark, vintage. Go 1/2 dark, I guess. Go nerd font. Yeah, that's fine. Retro terminal effects. Bar, background image, acrylic. Yeah. Give us a little acrylic. Save. Let's fix that up a little bit. Oh, this is still going in the background. Okay. Got too much crap open. Aw. It doesn't look pretty. It needs to look good. Oh, why isn't it taking my settings? Oh, let's fix that. WSL -- shutdown. Ah, yeah. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Gotta do a neo fetch. Gotta have a good look at terminal. That's like a requirement. Yes. Beautiful. I forget, why was I doing this? Felt like there was something in chat. Was there? Or did I just feel like pulling up WSL for some reason? Microsoft Edge account is required on Windows 11 Home. Well. Yeah. I need to make another video on how to bypass Microsoft account. You've been totally spoiled with Linux. This is true, Don. Anytime I'm back in Windows, I find myself going, how do I do what I do in Linux on Windows? And it's made me a better Windows user. Because there's a lot of ways of things we do on Linux that could be more optimal when using Windows. That's why I always like, hey, you should always be looking at that. Speaking of which, let's finish out our XRDP. Let's see if this module builds. I don't know if this will build or not. We're about to find out, though. Let's keep building this XRDP pulse audio module. You just wanted to show off your fast computer? Probably. Configure. Oh, sad face. Okay. We got a problem. I wonder, somebody mentioned earlier, what if there's got to be a repo, pulse, audio, module, XRDP. If I was on Arch, this would just work. AUR has spoiled me sometimes. All right. Pulse module. Let's see. I know we added something to apt, right? Did an update. And I want to say if we do like an apt list, grep, pulse, audio. Is there an XRDP in there? There is not. But let's cheese this. I want to get this over and done with. MX Linux is based on Debian. That should be a repo I could probably grab. Oh, wow. It just keeps playing. I've been playing in the background. It went to Linus Tech Tips. Probably grab this repo. Although, let's go projects, repositories. So I guess MX Linux by default has that. See, I swear this grabbed the pull. See this. Let's just manually run this. There's something I'm missing. Let's clear. Let's go back. Since this failed, let's go build. Okay. Let's just do this. See if it does the bootstrap configure. Okay, bootstrap. Let's make sure there's no errors on bootstrap. That looks fine. Configure. Can't find pulse direct. Okay, so let's see here. So there's an error with this. That is the problem. It looks like we just need to configure that environmental variable pulse directory. But if we echo that, let's see. It's not there. I thought we configured it in the command, right? Maybe there's no temp folder? No, it's there. What if we... What if we just do this? We'll just run it directly from this directory. See what happens. Okay. Wait, what? This is all root. Oh. All right, whatever. Let's just do sudo make directory tmp pulse. This is so hacky. Don't do this at kids. Don't do this at home, kids. Whatever. So it's looking for that. And the default config statement is looking for it in temp pulse audio pulse sever variable. But if we look at like an ls of temp folder, there is no pulse audio folders at all. So why? Yeah, that build is just not working. First reason, config, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I can figure this out. Yeah, well. I can always come back to it. There is... I still say this is the guide to follow, since this is the guy that made it. I think this right here, pulse audio source, is where this is. Is that a file in the home directory is the question. It's not here, but if we go sudo ls root, still not there. Okay, well. Let's just do the apt. Might as well. It's just a VM. Is that going to grab? All right. I feel like that is what we needed. Renaming Pulse Audio root to root. That's what we needed, I think. And then I think we can just do our bootstrap with the Pulse directory set to SRC. And then we should have a successful build. All right. No errors. No error. Oh. So it's trying to read it from my home directory, not the root home directory. Whatever. Let's just run as root. What's the worst that could happen? So if we look on here, let's grab this one more time. Paste. Middle mouse button's not working for some odd reason. I don't know what's up with that. Let's try this now. That looks better. So now that should be fine. I think this whole thing was meant to be run as root. And I just was not paying. No, it shows user right there. I don't know. All right. So now we have that. Now let's do an install. Sudo make install. That should get it going, right? All right. That looks like it installed properly. Install the modules. Done. Install a script to load the modules when a session is started. On many systems, the script is installed by default under here. Okay, let's sweet. All right, load those modules up. Install a desktop file. That's probably not called for, which will call the load files. The desktop is... Oh, okay. On many systems, the script is located... Okay, whatever. We just ran it. You confirm the modules are properly installed by this right here. We got it. And then we can see if it works. And in here. Nothing. Oh, wait, let's just close this out, actually. Close tabs. So then let's exit. EA play. Oh, I don't have an audio file. Let's just relaunch. Let's do Pavu control, actually. Let's close that. And... whatever, let's just do Pavu control. I still don't see that. Maybe a reboot and then load those on startup. So I think one more go. We've got the modules, we've got them loaded, but for whatever reason, it's just like, no. We could restart Pulse Audio probably, but I want to change one thing here on startup, and then I think it should work just fine. History. Give me that, please. Okay. So XDG auto start should grab the where are you at? All right. Load PA modules. So on auto start here, we could... Is that even a directory though? Yeah. It is. See, there's already a file there, so xdg auto start pulse xrdp. Oh, I don't have Vim installed. What? Give me some Vim. Life's always better with Vim. Yeah, closing the user session I think will do it. I just want to make sure this auto start happens. Ah, see, it's already there. All right. Let's just reboot this sucker. I think we're going to have some audio on startup here, guys. This is a bit more involved than I wanted it to be. But, you know, fun nonetheless. Yeah, between you and Don, Peter, I think you're the reasons why I use Vim. All right, now if we go to Pavu control should show something other than dummy output though. So if we look at it, still shows dummy output. That's not comforting. And it's definitely grabbing. It's probably not gonna work, but oh, Wix. Blah. Skip ads. Come on. Give me some audio. No. Nope. Poo. Sad face. All right. Well, that's enough of that. Hopefully I can figure that out. I don't know what's going on with Pulse Audio, but sound in Linux has always been awful. Hopefully with Pipewire coming down, crap like this won't happen where you're like, well, is it also interfacing with Pulse? I mean, one can dream. One can dream. Ugh. Did you check your... Oh, did you guys hear it? Yeah. It's not the sound on this specific thing. It's the sound in the VM going through XRDP using Pulse's module system. So regular sound in Linux is pretty easy. But when you're doing a VM using Hyper-V, like we've done, it's using XRDP. So Pulse Audio needs to register those XRDP modules that we had to build from source to properly pass through the audio. But having said that, there's one other thing now that I'm thinking about it. Let's just stop the service. And then let's start the service. And then let's go to settings. Somebody earlier said enhance session mode. And I wanted to see if it gives us any more pass-through options in Hyper-V. SCSI controller, network fiber controller. Oh, man. And the SCSI is just going to give us drives. Integration services. Nothing. All right, worth a shot. Worth a shot. I was just looking through here. Oh, this only has one processor. Oops. No wonder it was so slow. That was on one virtual CPU? What is it with multiple CPUs? Let's try it one more last time. Wow, that was actually pretty fast for being just one virtual CPU. Now it's just sitting on my old spinning platter over there. I just look over and I just see the hard drive light just bah. Should have put it on an NVMe drive so this would be faster, but oh well. All right, here we go. Maybe. Or maybe enhanced session was causing it not to work. Sometimes enhanced session doesn't work properly on Linux boxes. Enhanced session works great with Windows, but Windows VMs. I've never had it work right with Linux VMs, though. Yeah, still dummy output. I think, honestly, let's just turn off enhanced session. See what happens. Want to try one last config. I just hate to just completely give up on that. Let's just remove that. Remove enhanced session mode. Enhanced session mode should give you more pass-through options, but more often than not, it causes more problems than it solves. And then let's stop the service, start the service. Connect again. I don't think this is gonna work, but I just want to try it just to make sure. Something just seemed a little off there. I will say the startup definitely does seem faster since removing enhanced session service. I just don't think that enhanced session is good for Linux. Could be completely off basis by saying that, but I don't think I am. Oops. Dummy output, yeah. Blah. Sad face. I'll load up Firefox just to make sure, but... I think we struck out there. No. Sad face. Yep. All right. So be it. I blame Pulse Audio. Oh. It could also be Hyper-V doing some shenanigans. Oh, well. All right, guys. Well, I wanted to just kind of do today and just say, hey, here is my Hyper-V stuff. I'll have a condensed, like maybe 20-minute Hyper-V tutorial out tomorrow and have this more condensed down for those Windows users that want to use Hyper-V for virtualization. You can. I think that'll be good. It does give good performance, as we saw. I don't know what was up with the sound today. I was sad that I couldn't get that working, but hey. I'm sure there's something, just some little setting to make that work. And I'll have to look at it. I think Arch with Pipewire, I've had really good success with Pipewire lately. I have loved Pipewire. So, you know, it's one of those things. But having the Hyper-V with Windows, for those that want to virtualize Linux and Windows, this is how I do it. And it's been very, very good. And I've loved it. So, yeah. Yeah, of course, Michael. Thanks for putting together that form. I've always wanted some kind of form to direct people to that isn't just full of stuff. It's just I don't have the time to do a forum or Discord and try and manage it. between everything I do in my day-to-day to where I can get it. I've tried a bunch of different things, and it just always becomes unwieldy, and trying to monitor it and moderate it, it's rough. So yeah, big shout out to Michael for putting the easylinux.net together for the forum. So all right, guys, that is virtualization in a nutshell. I'll probably do a WSL video coming up soon for Windows 11 as well. I wanted to get Hyper-V out of the way, though, just for those that do want to run full VMs. And it is being depreciated or deprecated and will be sunset completely. All data centers are pretty much phasing out Hyper-V and moving to VMware usually. So there's very, very little Hyper-V left in the world, and probably here in about 5 years it'll be completely put out to pasture, so to speak. So that's but for the next 5 years, I think we could easily use Hyper-V in a pro environment and get some good VM performance out of it without having to load up another box. Or you could just use Linux with QEMU. That's my go-to, my favorite setup by far. But yeah, there's just some more options for folks out there. All right, y'all. Take it easy. Have a great weekend. Sorry for being a little bit asleep, but sometimes it adds to the entertainment value. So with that, me and my wife probably gonna run over to Costco now. I need some more snacks. All right, y'all. Have a good one.